Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Artem and here is the news. 294 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russia launched another drone attack on Ukrainian cities, reports Interfax Ukraine. Thanks to the work of the air defense of Ukraine, all 13 Iranian-made drones were shot down. No energy facilities were affected. Ukrainian energy operator Ukrenergo informed that the 9th nuclear reactor out of 9 available had been launched yesterday, and it helped not to use emergency blackouts to balance the energy system. Nevertheless, the company said that the situation in the energy system of Ukraine is still difficult due to large amounts of damage due to earlier attacks. All regional energy companies still have consumption limits. Yesterday, representatives of the Ukrainian authorities and society received the Sakharov Prize from the European Parliament, reports Radio Liberty. The award was given to the brave Ukrainian people who were represented by the President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky, Head of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine Serhiy Kruk, Mayor of Melitopol Ivan Fedorov, Founder of the Evacuation Medical Unit Angels of Tyra Yulia Payevska, Human Rights activist Alexandra Matvichuk, representatives of the resistance movement Yellow Ribbon. EU High Representative of Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Josep Borrell said that Ukrainians, quote, are shielding and fighting for the very shared universal values on which Europe was built. With their heroic and brave resistance against the Russian war of aggression, they are paying the ultimate price for freedom, unquote, reports Interfax Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky in his speech called on the European Parliament to adopt a separate resolution to support the creation of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression of Russia against Ukraine. He also called on the European Parliament to support the recognition of the Holodomor as the genocide of the Ukrainian people. The New York Times believes that the liberation of the temporarily occupied Melitopol in the Zaporizhia region can be the next important stage of the deoccupation of the south of Ukraine, reports RBK Ukraine. According to the publication, Ukraine is stepping up efforts to isolate and weaken Russian forces in and around the strategic important city of Melitopol ahead of what is expected to be the next major phase of the war, a Ukrainian offensive to push Russian troops out of southern Ukraine. The city is strategically important as it is located at the intersection of two highways and the railway line connecting Russia with occupied Crimea and other captured territories of southern Ukraine. The New York Times reports that Melitopol is a key hub and regaining control of it could help Ukrainian defenders liberate not only Zaporizhia Oblast but also the rest of the neighboring Kherson Oblast. It could potentially even pave the way for pushing Russian troops back into occupied Crimea. As part of another exchange of prisoners, 64 soldiers of the armed forces who fought in the Donetsk and Lugansk directions, as well as US citizens who helped the Ukrainians, are returning home, reports Slovo i Dilo. According to the head of the president's office, Andriy Yermak, the bodies of 4 dead were also returned. According to the Ukrainian intelligence, the US citizen was an activist who remained in the occupied Kherson and was illegally detained by Russian forces. He was exchanged for the priest of the Russian Orthodox Church who was sentenced for treason in Ukraine. More than 7 million Ukrainians went abroad due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is 20% of the country's population, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to Dmitro Lubinets, the Verkhovna Rada Commissioner for Human Rights, almost 5 million people became internally displaced persons within Ukraine. 30% of these are pensioners and persons with disabilities. Lubinets added that 13 million Ukrainian citizens stay in the areas of intense combat and temporarily occupied territories. Yesterday, Ukraine received the last installment of 500 million euros under the EU's 8th macrofinancial assistance program with total funding of 5 billion euros, reports Espresso. The Ministry of Finance informed that this loan assistance will be directed to financing the most urgent expenses of the state budget. The European Parliament approved an 18 billion euros support package for Ukraine for 2023, reports European Pravda. The support will be provided in the form of a long-term loan, which will be granted on concessional terms but will be subject to reforms. It will cover spending on the essential public services, including hospitals, schools, and housing. To get Hungary's approval for the decision, the EU had to unblock part of the grant funds planned for this country, but blocked due to the lack of reforms in it. Ukraine's finance minister Serhiy Marchenko said that Ukraine expects to receive the first tranche of macrofinancial assistance approved by the European Parliament already in January in the amount of 3 billion euros. Pope Francis called for a modest Christmas this year and asked to donate the money saved to help the suffering people of Ukraine, reports Unian. The Pope called for gestures of mercy for Ukrainians this holiday season. If you like what we do and would like to tip us, you can now do so directly to our PayPal. Check out the link in the description to this episode for more details. And as usual, you can subscribe to our Patreon. In gratitude for your help, we will give you access to a series of exclusive episodes on wartime life in Ukraine. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.